Oh, yes, hello.
Welcome to your new career in food service. It is a task so simple a human can do it.
Oh, great, thanks. Appreciate
Pay
that.
attention.
Oh, how does that look? Does that look beautiful?
Art that makes
Well, now what are you gonna go and shred that for? Go.
No, not that cake.
Oh.
Little Jimmy's cake is trapped inside my stomach hatch. Little
Okay,
Jimmy
wait.
would know the difference.
Hey.
Children beautiful, presentable, and socially acceptable.
Not socially acceptable.
Right now,
so sassy.
So, I wouldn't be a YouTuber with having a few controversial opinions here and there, though I think if I can describe this well enough, I think you might also agree with me with what I have to say here as well. See, one thing you have to know about me right from the get-go is that I've been a fan of Five Nights at Freddy since basically day one. I was the one watching all the cringy edits, playthroughs, lore videos, and well, I might have even also mentioned to one of my friends that I was debating lore in old FNAF Facebook groups. Yes, I know, I feel old for even mentioning that, but anywho, I do want to explain to y'all, knowing all of that, why I believe Help Wanted 2 is potentially the most fun FNAF mainline game I've played, why I feel like it might not necessarily be FNAF according to some people, but why I also think this is necessary for the franchise to do. Now, in terms of why I believe it's fun, well, I may be a bit biased here. I know, shocking, a biased YouTuber. Never heard that one before. The reason I say that is because I was playing Help Wanted 1 and trying to stream it, and, well, I'm in a very limited space and I struggle to play this game in VR. So much so that I ended up just playing in flat mode. But that's okay, I still had fun with it, even if I didn't experience it the way I should have. With that said though, besides a few problems here and there, Help Wanted 2 ran so much better for me in terms of spacing, and I was able to play the whole game through in VR. Let me explain to you, the first Help Wanted, I could not use my VR, unfortunately. It just wasn't working out properly. Now, hopefully, it looks like this game has way better support for people who don't have a lot of room to move. So we're gonna hope and pray about that. So with that said, I guess you could say I'm a bit biased here because I actually could finish Help Wanted 2 in VR. But even with all of that though, I think I still would say that this is Steel Wool's best piece of work thus far in terms of their gaming content. I praised Ruin in one of my previous videos for how they, mostly, addressed everything they needed to from Security Breach. However you feel about Security Breach, it definitely was a buggy mess when it first came out, and it had a lot of controversy when it initially released. With Help Wanted 2's release, however, it received quite the opposite. It received a lot of overwhelmingly mostly positive reception, which is why I feel fairly confident in saying this is Steel Wool's best game so far. I had so much fun with it for sure. Seeing the animatronics up close from past games in different situations and environments made the game refreshing to play for sure. Of course, all of you simps over there were very happy to either get up close with Daddy Glamrock Freddy or Mommy Roxanne Wolf, but that's besides the point. I just love seeing this interesting combination consisting primarily of the cast of Pizzeria Simulator, Sister Location, and Security Breach, especially the characters who usually don't play a huge role in the games. The fact that Biddy Bab was one of the characters that gave me one of the biggest jump scares of the game is actually really funny to me. What the French? Oh my god, screw you! Screw you, I didn't even see you! Where the hell did you come from? Oh my god. Even seeing some of the characters fleshed out like Sun was really cool. Okay.
Just in time for arts and crafts.
Am I in time for arts and crafts?
Sit
Okay.
right there and don't move. I'll go fetch whatever materials you need, okay?
I think he's done with the children now.
The main aspect, though, of why I really enjoy this game is the gameplay. See, when it comes to FNAF games, I usually enjoy the lore aspect of FNAF games over the gameplay. But with this game, that was the opposite. I still enjoyed uncovering things like, oh yeah, maybe I should give y'all a spoiler warning here. Spoilers. Potentially finding out we were playing as Cassie's dad, who could have been the Bonnie bully from FNAF 4. Now that would be a very interesting tie into the previous titles that I would like to see. Besides that, the minigames were super fun. Whether I was yelling at the staff bots and Chica while making food, bonking the hell out of the plush babies, or being scared spineless of Funtime Freddy, I had a blast with all of these minigames. There wasn't a minigame I truly disliked, and in fact, I wish they would add a mode where you could play some of them more carefully in an endless mode or something along the lines of that. If it wasn't for my limited space and, sweating to death on my Quest 3, I probably wouldn't rest and reset as many times as I did. All in all, in regards to the mainline FNAF games, this was probably one of the most fun I've had with a FNAF game, gameplay-wise. Yet, that's just it. Does this truly feel like a FNAF game anymore? Can y'all believe that the very first FNAF game came out in August 2014? That's almost a decade ago. We're getting old as hell, folks. I would know because my back is feeling geriatric for sure. Regardless, let's think back to what made FNAF FNAF. This probably extends to every previous mainline game besides Help Wanted 1 and Security Breach. I think when we think back into what made FNAF popular and why we really liked it, this deleted user from Reddit summarizes it well. The simplicity of the game, its uniqueness of the horror genre, and the lore that enticed so many people. These are hallmarks of a FNAF game, or at least once were. Since the release of Security Breach, it could be argued that FNAF has reinvented itself from the simplicity that seemed to be a staple of the FNAF games. Even in Ultimate Custom Night, while the mechanics may have seemed more complex, the simplicity of mostly just clicking around was definitely the same. Even with Help Wanted 1, the game primarily focused on retelling the old FNAF games from 1 to 3 with a few twists that included the other games. The simplicity was there, just made with VR in mind, of course. So, when it comes to the newest releases into the FNAF franchise, I think it's safe to say that we aren't going back to the way FNAF used to be, at least to a strict formula of checking cameras, locking doors, etc. It still will be a part of the franchise, as we have even seen in Security Breach here and there, but the formula and content has expanded beyond that, and the games have evolved since 2014. I'm bringing this up because I already know some FNAF fans will state that Help Wanted 2 is not a true FNAF game because it doesn't quote-unquote feel like FNAF. That's totally fine for them to feel that way, and in a sense, they are right. But I think what people have to understand is that games evolve and that it's necessary for them to evolve to stay relevant. In my opinion, Ultimate Custom Night was the biggest love letter and a final send-off of the old FNAF formula from Scott, which I do need to discuss that later in another video. But with that being said, I don't think Help Wanted 2 should be discounted as some kind of sideline FNAF game, and we should, as FNAF fans, not expect us to ever truly go back to the old formula the way it once was. Which does bring me to my next point of why it is necessary for this to happen, for the franchise to stay afloat. You know, it's kind of funny because some FNAF fans genuinely remind me of Gen 1 Pokemon stands, where they swear that Gen 1 was the best gen of Pokemon and that everything new is trash because they don't want to move past what they once knew. In a sense, that is kind of what is happening with FNAF, but a bit more complex. See, the difference is that Pokemon has relatively kept its old formula the same, with catching Pokemon, leveling them up to make them stronger, and of course battling trainers and leaders to eventually get to the big final boss at the end. With FNAF though, we know that the formula has changed because the core gameplay has changed overall, as mentioned previously, and you know, some people aren't happy with that change, and I get that. Yet, I feel as though this change makes the franchise relevant. While I would love to play a new Five Nights at Freddy's game the way that we once did, I have to admit that by the 10th game, it would have become very stale. Change and evolution is necessary for FNAF. It's evident by how much people have had fun with the newest addition to the franchise. People are welcoming of this change and are enjoying the game for what it is and not for what they believe FNAF should be. See, nostalgia can sometimes be a blinding force for us, and it sometimes even blocks us off from enjoying newer and frankly, sometimes even better content. Don't get me wrong, the old FNAF formula will always be near and dear to my heart, but I think it's time to acknowledge that, especially under Steel Wool, the formula is only going to get more and more complex. Thankfully, I think we can always count on the games having jump scares and lore no matter what. For those reasons though, I think people should give Help Wanted 2 a try without biases clouding their judgment, because to me and many other people, I think this is the most fun I have had with a FNAF game with its mechanics and gameplay, even if it doesn't quote-unquote feel like what FNAF once was. I guess one thing we can always count on though, no matter what in these games, is that he
Always come back.